consent to being recorded. How about that?
Sure.
What if I don't consent?
Be gone.
All right.
Am I like super laggy now? Hang on.
No, don't worry about it. Oh, wait, that's the whole spiel that we do every time we do this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so the website records
it's awful.
your stream.
It's trash. I got it.
Max, tell him, Aaron.
So I'm gonna get triggered watching myself be super laggy, but it's fine
Dude,
for
it's
everyone
so
else,
bad.
right?
It's so bad while we're recording.
It always is like this, but it's recorded separately on all of our different computers and uploaded when we finish.
So are you guys laggy for yourselves?
Yes.
I look fantastic
we're all
because I'm the host's web browser.
Well, I'm not laggy for myself, no.
But everyone else is super laggy, like, between us.
Looks like absolute dog shit.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll try not to look at myself then.
Low-key, silently, the first episode we ever recorded, I was like, dude, Taylor's video is so bad. But fuck, this podcast is doomed, bro.
It can't be worse than Nathan's, because Nathan
looks like the off, dude.
That was actually terrible.
I had to use backups that I didn't think existed. It took me 25 minutes of reading the logs to find his backups because his internet was so dog shit. It was so bad. I was like,
wasn't he late to stream too that night as well? Wasn't that a whole thing?
Dude, the issue is the whole stream time is he's like, oh, I'm gonna dog shit on Victor because it'd be funny, and then at the end, dude, he's just like, oh, you're playing Victor? God, you suck. I'm like, oh
I had no idea that whole episode just ragging on Victor.
Yeah, because
it wasn't even a bit.
That was the same night we did our Pro Tour or whatever tier list thing that he was supposed to be on as well. So we were waiting for him to finish with you guys to join.
Yeah,
he looked dead on the inside. By the way, in y'all's, dude, he looked dead.
It's because he went from having fun with us to having to sit there and be like,
watching the tonal difference between the two videos is one of the funniest things ever. Because Josh has spreadsheets and and it's just so dead serious, and then ours is all giggly and fun.
Just because you guys are cool, what can I say? We're lame.
I know.
All right. Welcome back. This is episode 8 of Breakpoints. With me, as always, is Taylor Crawford. That man's AgroBlaze96, otherwise known as Zach. And then this week, we have our special guest, Aaron Grace. Nice little getting it wrong off the get-go.
Love it.
All right, Taylor, how was your week in Flesh and Blood?
This week, I just got done top 8ing Zach's Talishart tournament on Dog Shit Hero Marlin. Just to prove a point from, I think it was the DM Armada episode where I was just like, oh, this hero's good. And then DM Armada just ram into my ass for 2 hours. How bad it was. I was like,
you weren't alone in that. I remember Zach got a pretty good beating as well.
Yeah, well, I proved my point. Time to go back into the sleeve it up for the rest of the year now. Kansas City was a good tournament. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. But other than that, I haven't really focused on too much. I watched a little bit of the calling this morning now. And I saw the new Arachne card that we'll talk about later. But yeah, how about yours, Zach?
My week was good. Kansas City as well, which I know we just said we'll talk about. I had my Talishar tournament that I hold once every 2 or 3 months today, and it was pretty fun. We had a really good turnout. I think there was 30 people, most we've ever had, so it was a lot of fun. Had some really good games along the way. Taylor did manage to top 8 playing Marlin, which was actually really cool. What's even cooler is that he lost to Bravo in the top 8, so don't let him give you anything. But no, it's been a good week. I had the opportunity to be on DM Armada's episode of Give and Take this week. That was really, really cool. So it's been a fun week decompressing from Kansas City for me. Sam, how about you, brother?
I had a pretty good week. We're going to talk about Kansas City pretty much at length here, so keeping it brief. Kansas City was fun. Thank you to everyone who came out and said hi and said that they recognized me because of my laugh. That was kind of wild.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
I appreciate that greatly. I just got back from a Living Legends skirmish that was at 6 p.m., and we record this podcast at 10:30. So we cut the top 4, and I conceded immediately. Got my cerebellum and hit the road, so we could get
What did you
rolling.
play in LL?
I played Briar.
Okay, nice.
Briar's crazy. That deck is There's a good reason it's in LL. I'll say that.
He's probably one of the best aggro decks in LL.
You know what the crazy part is? That deck was like that aggro deck, that shell of like the 0 for 4 go again Aurora shell was legal in CC for like 6 months and never did anything.
I think there's been a fair few upgrades since then. I'll tell you, Serenade is insane in that deck. NIMBY is also quite good. I had a lot of fun getting my 0 for 6.
Not an Aurora spec. You can play that.
Exactly.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing after we get done recording.
She has like a crazy card pool. Like she has so many tools available to her now.
Yeah, and all of her blues are crazy. Like they might block 2, but they all block 3 because you make an embodiment. There's like the 3 Briar specs that if you block with a card from hand, make an embodiment. So I'm like blocking for 10 on 2 cards sometimes.
That's insane.
It's like, yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, skirmish was great. Got my cold foil processor, hit the road. Other than that, I've been working on moving into my house, and it's been a lot. Aaron, how's your week been?
Pretty good. Been kind of taking it easy since KC, since there's not really a ton going on. I don't normally play in skirmishes, although I did play in one yesterday, mostly because a local of mine wanted some help testing for LL. But the skirmish itself was actually crack shuffle play, which it was kind of fun. Playing like a limited format where you don't have to think at all about deck building or drafting. You just you open your packs. I didn't even like read any of the cards that I opened. I just kind of shuffled it up and like went as I went round by round, hoping that the deck works out. And I don't know if my deck was good or not. I ended up going 3-1 in Swiss, and then I made top 4 as well. I immediately conceded because no one cares about Scurv. I just wanted to go home. So I did get the Cerebellum processor, and I don't know. It was cool, but I don't know how competitive crack shuffle play is. I guess that's not really the point of it, but it's kind of weird everyone talking about like LL skirmishes and maybe the 2 Blitz skirmishes in the world that are happening, but I had the introductory one, but I had fun,
If you could pick between LL or Blitz, what would you guys rather play for skirmish?
Oh, definitely LL.
Blitz.
No, Blitz is the worst format ever.
Dude, it's so awful.
Blitz is better than Classic Constructed.
Better than... All right. Sell me on this, Zach. Sell me.
Okay, actually, like if we're like... Blitz is a more skill-expressive format because you are limited to less mistakes. People want to sit around and claim and bitch about how it's a high-roll format. And don't get me wrong, sometimes you just get juiced. But guess what? Sometimes you just get juiced in CC too. People want to sit around and bitch. Blitz is actually very skill-expressive because you have like a mountain of a fridge, and if you don't use it perfectly, or if you don't do everything in the first like 3 to 4 turns methodically perfect to a T, you lose the game. And people would rather sit around and bitch about how it's a high-rolling format.
Zach,
I think Blitz is a phenomenal format.
Zach, I will play you after this stream, like 5 games of Blitz, and I will beat you 4 out of 5. But then
let's go, dog.
But then I'll only win 3 out of 5 in CC.
Dude,
I think being able to recover from mistakes or like bad variance over a longer period of game is what makes Flesh and Blood a good game. I don't know if I buy that the winner of Blitz is always who makes the perfect decisions, because there's enough variance within your hands that if you just draw your good hands and your opponent doesn't, you're going to win because they're dead in 2 turns. And if they don't find their correct sequence of cards, then the game's just over. It doesn't really matter how perfect your decisions are. Now,
sure.
To be fair, it's not like I play Blitz all the time, so I'm not going to like preach and say that I know this for sure. But when I did play Blitz in the past, it just seemed to be the case that it was very draw dependent on having the functional good hands within the first couple of turns, because your armor goes away very quickly, and as soon as it's gone, you're dead. And I do like in the longer formats how the game's designed for that you have more opportunities to eke out incremental advantages that I think Blitz kind of lacks. I don't mind the 20 life formats for something like Project Blue or some other stuff that they've been trying, but having the full powered fridge and like just some of the disgusting turns that these heroes could just come out of nowhere, I think that it kind of leads to some balance problems.
Here's what I will say. 2 years ago, and I don't want to hijack the whole episode, but 2 years ago, I very strongly agreed with you. The whole format was like terrible, and it was high rolly, and it wasn't a lot of fun. I
all the
seriously
good heroes
think
LL'd.
there have been enough heroes and that have hit LL, and there's been enough updates to the format that I in all seriousness, I actually really like the Blitz format, and I think it gets too much hate. Anyway, let's not ponder and like wreck the whole episode about this. But
No.
This is our content, Zach.
I'm not
Zach.
trolling. I actually think Blitz is a great format, and I think people would rather sit around and bitch as opposed to explore it.
I mean, I would rather sit around and bitch.
Yeah,
I don't wanna play it.
But that's my point. Like, it's not getting a fair shot. It's like all the people who sit around and complain about watching draft. You don't like to watch draft because you suck. Like,
Well,
okay, sure, draft is a little boring to watch, but it's like watching good players draft is very intriguing to me. I love watching high-level players draft. Like, I understand that the viewer count drops and people aren't going to watch draft as much, but it's a great format with a lot of skill expression.
for sure.
Are you just saying that because it's like Blitz is the only format in which Guardian's okay right now?
I don't even know if you can play Guardian and Blitz right now. It's that bad, dog. Like, Gravy Boat's
It's that bad?
just-
What are you
it
talking?
probably-
Dude, you just said it was that good. Which one is it, Zach?
that Guardian's that bad? Dude, get out of here,
Well,
Master
I mean-
Gaslighter. If I wanted to be
Yeah,
gaslit, I go hang out with my parents. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Victor was cracked in Blitz, but he's gone.
Sure.
And Terra was pretty good, but they banned Crown Seeds again, and now Terra's not so good.
Terra
I don't
won
know
2
if there's, like-
skirmishes.
Isn't
and
Blaze the best deck? Isn't like just Wizard is always busted?
Blaze is pretty good. I think Aurora's pretty good.
That's good. Right? She has to be good.
The KO is pretty good because you
Yeah,
can
brutes.
10-foot tall and bulletproof people and 20 of them. That's pretty funny.
I mean,
Yeah, Savage
there's-
Sash.
like, Blitz has a very diverse meta. Like, I don't know, man. I'm willing to die on this hill. I don't think Blitz is that bad of a format.
Okay, all right.
I'm a
all
Cab
right.
Dane main, so I just don't see it in there.
Would you rather Blitz be the world's format than LL?
I don't know. I'd have to sit around and think about that. Like, honestly, I don't know. Maybe. It's a possibility. Like, I don't dislike LL, but I think that, man, I don't know. Probably. If you put a gun to my head and told me to pick, I'd say yes, let's play Blitz over LL at Worlds.
Are you okay,
I
buddy?
don't know. I feel like you have a higher chance of getting juiced in LL than you do in Blitz.
Are you?
So, like, if the contrarian argument is that, like, we don't want to get juiced and we're looking for incremental value, because I hear what Aaron's saying about CC. Like, playing Ira, for example, like, and Aaron's a great example. You can have an all blue hand or an all red hand normally once a game and recover. And in Blitz, you probably don't have that opportunity. But in LL, we have the same problem. The heroes are just so much more powerful in LL that the 40 points doesn't matter.
I don't
Like, if
think
you're
that's-
going
I will
to sit and
say
tell me
that-
that you can brick against Starvo and recover, I would like to invite you to 3 months of 2023 because you're wrong.
Well, let me tell you, in LL now, that's absolutely true because like Starvo got a pretty hefty kneecapping.
I think a lot of the LL bans have been like trying to fix that. They don't want, the Kano restrictions, they don't like Kano just killing you on turn 0. They don't want decks to just be able to, when they nerfed the Zen by restricting bonds and stuff like that. They didn't want decks to just insta-kill you. And you see, like, with Living Legends now, a lot more mid-rangey styles are getting more popular. Like, CYB New is kind of trying to counteract these more fragile decks and fatigue you or kill you with Disruption. Needle Ira is coming back. It's just like a value deck with generic, 2-cost Disruption. So the format actually can slow down a little bit. And the matchup spreads actually end up being very interesting just because all of the Illusionists are legal. And all the Illusionists right now are kind of viable in different ways, and they target specific decks, but they all kind of have like a problematic matchup that they can't deal with. Like Prism really is bad into Briar. Dromai is really bad into like Needle Ira. But the existence of these Illusionists and the fact that people like to play them means that like turbo fatigue defensive decks like Oldham or even New like kind of have to worry about like Gem Roulette a little bit. So I think with Chain being nerfed a bit to where he's not just the most giga broken deck possible, the LMET actually is looking a little bit more healthy. But we'll see as more people kind of break it and like actually prepare it for Worlds if it actually is healthy or not. Once more eyes get on it.
I personally think that we're gonna have like and like this is just an example, but like in Nats in 2022, very, very few people knew or were even ready for Bullander at that tournament. And I think we're gonna have something like that that kind of like stands out above the rest, that feels like it's like this
Yeah.
breakout powerful deck at Worlds.
I can see that.
Who's gonna break it? Tell me right now. And
Who's gonna break it? A specific
Aaron Grace is gonna break
Hey,
it.
there you go. That's what I'm talking about. That's something I can get behind, boys.
It's definitely not CYB Enigma, I'll tell you that.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, it's not. It took like a whole like one game against Breyer for me to be like, all right, I don't know if this is quite doing it.
It doesn't work.
Turns out
Sadly.
when they give 7 go again, draw a card on hit 3 times in a turn, you can't really CYB your way out of that.
So the one thing I will say about Blitz that's probably better over than CC is that like Gravy is completely unplayable. I'll give you that one. I'll give you
So
that.
like, there's probably even a version of that deck, right?
I mean, it's okay. Like, it gets dog walked by some of these like aggro decks.
Sure.
But it does the same thing that like Prism would do into the Guardians that are trying to like Giga Fatigue. That's
Cashing's
it's like
banned
just
in Blitz,
worse
right?
Prism.
Yes, I've already checked with
Yes,
Gianna
yes.
in the Olympia equipment, and I like tried to put it in the deck, and it was like, oh, it's banned. I was like, this format sucks. Oh my god.
There's so
I knew what they were
many
doing.
like I don't know. I understand I have an unpopular opinion, and I have no doubt that the comment section is gonna roast me for my take about Blitz, but I genuinely think that there's bad beats in every format. Blitz is a little more high rolly than most, and to Aaron's point, you can sometimes recover, but even then in CC, sometimes when you draw an unplayable hand, you just get juiced. That's just how it goes. And
Question for
like
you.
I understand there's less of that, but like in Blitz, I think that there is a level to an actual higher skill expression to understand your game plan, your opponent's game plan, and you are punished harder for making micro mistakes, like bad micro decisions, as opposed to in CC. I think you can get away with making more
okay.
micro mistakes in CC.
I just want to say though, you say this until you get to Worlds. You're like round 1 is like Pablo Pintor, and he pitches like Riches Otropaldani in Shiana for like visit the Gold Main Estate, and he makes like 6 mites on turn 0, and then you're like,
Sure.
never mind, I apologize. This was
I'm
awful.
still not going to say that that's wrong.
You're crazy.
I don't lose to a
I'm
Bravo
just
in top
pumped.
8 and then blame one bad experience on something.
I'll tell you what, I'm pumped that somebody out here loves Blitz. That's what I'm here for.
That is the niche market LSS should be targeting right there. It's just Zach.
Just me. Should just be targeting me.
They're like, oh, no Blitz decks this set. They're like, are you sure? Zach's going to be really disappointed. And they're like, nah, it's fine.
I think they did go away with the Blitz box, right?
I haven't seen any for high seas. So it's like,
Yeah, I'm pretty
there
sure they
wasn't
did away
any
with
for
those.
ICs.
yeah, Zach
Yeah.
was on the ground in shambles.
When they come back next set, just know James watched this episode.
Dude, that would make my day to know James White was listening, but I don't know if that's quite happening.
I don't know either,
Um,
James White, comment
Anyway.
below if you listen.
but
So anyway, we got a little bit off topic here. Let's gonna rein it back into some actual CC discussion. Let's talk about our weekends in Kansas City. A couple of us did pretty well, and a couple of us didn't do super well. Taylor, how was your weekend in Kansas City?
Well, it was really good until I hit day 2. I played Slippy, which was like the... I think it was like the safe bet. It was like the amount of games I can play had a strong correlation to the win rate. I think I could have seen myself at Kansas City. Like, I feel like I had game into everything. I probably played... For me personally, it's a little underneath my like usual games going into a calling. I probably only played like 100 games. But that's just because I play a lot. And that's kind of like how I play. And going into it, I was like, this is like this is like the white bread of decks I could bring to this calling. It's as funny as that sounds, and I feel like I fought the deck the whole time. Uh, I lost to like Puffin, I lost to Vincent, I lost to Mario. I lost to decks that I was like, oh, these decks aren't going to be at the calling. Because I prepped for the mirror and I prepped for, Gravy Bones, which I went undefeated into and stuff like that. And then I lost to like a content creator like Kevin Murphy. Oh my god. I was like, oh, great. I'm glad this wasn't recorded because there wouldn't be a whole video on it. And stuff like that. So it's like. But
You know,
like,
I know people always like to prepare for the meta matchups, but I don't think I've ever been to a major tournament in which I did not play against any, we'll call them goober decks, but like off meta picks that you wouldn't expect to face and decks that you probably don't practice a lot into. I play against Bolton, Levia, like, Guardians and like this meta every tournament, Kanos, like you're never gonna go to a big event like this and just play, gravy, Slippy, Verdant, Slippy,
I wish.
gravy. It
I
just it
wish.
doesn't happen.
I wish.
Everyone finds rogue decks, and I think that's part of
Mhm.
just because people are comfortable playing a wide variety of decks, and they're gonna bring their favorite deck no matter what. And also like the format just isn't so pinpointed to where there's just 70% of one deck in a meta anyways.
So, I got paired into these decks and I played okay. Like, I feel like I didn't make too many misplays. I talked to my opponent afterwards. Be like, hey, did anything feel wrong? Like, just like learning notes. And in my opinion, it's like when I play Slippy, it just feels like what I assume a better Syndra feels like. It's just Syndra with the on hits. It's like my reactions are just another head jabs, but at instant speed. That's kind of like how I process the deck. So I'm playing pretty aggressively, declaring no blocks. I got to like I got to triple Justin Nick on turn 0, which was like an achievement unlocked, which was really fun. I think I ended the tournament at X4, which wasn't in cash. I was one away from cash, but like the guy that knocked me out of the money was Kevin, so I'm kind of angry about that. Uh, I love
How
Kevin.
dare he after we invite him on the podcast?
I know, right?
Exactly.
I was like, I'm pretty sure we asked him in the podcast, are you going to the next calling? Like, I'm pretty sure I can go back. And he's like, I don't think so. So I left my second 7 popper at home, expecting him not to be there. And then he just does that to me. I was like, oh. But no, other than that, I had a great time. We had great food. Uh, we had really good barbecue at the airport.
Facts, we did.
Dude, like, I don't want to say it, but I was like, dude, that barbecue airport was like better than some barbecue I've had around here. And I was like, it's
Facts.
pretty impressive. But in that, I had a great time. How about you, Zach?
Kansas City was an emotional roller coaster for me. I will say I did have one less loss than Taylor, but that's because I played 5 less rounds of CC than he did at the calling. I ended up finishing day 1 4-3 and not making day 2, which was pretty disappointing. I threw a game against a Fang by just not being able to like count my resources and throw Macho Grande. Was just one of those like stupid mistakes that I don't really make anymore, but it is what it is. The calling ultimately pushed me into the mindset of I have to walk away from Victor in CC right now because I just think walking into the door and being X2 automatically because you're going to play at least one Gravy Bones, you're going to play at least one Verdant throughout the weekend has just pushed me in a different direction. So overall, it wasn't great. I did play the Battle Hardened and I went 2-2 and I got juiced by Slippy, who played pretty well, and then I played a Verdance and lost. And so I just kind of hung out, waited for my flight, had some barbecue with Taylor and Aaron at the airport. And overall, it was a good weekend, though. Just hung out, had a good time, and got to play Flesh and Blood. So can never really complain too much when I'm playing Flesh and Blood. How about you, Sam?
Well, my trip to Kansas City was awesome, except for the time I was playing Flesh and Blood. Uh, but really, I think what Aaron was saying earlier about hitting these goober decks, that was one of the reasons I wanted to stick with Gravy, because I didn't think that Gravy might even be the best pick for this tournament with the amount of like targeted hate that was coming. And I also have been in this spot for a while now with Gravy where I'm like, I'm good at this deck, but I'm not great at it. And getting over that threshold was something that I wasn't like quite reaching. But I'm very happy I actually played it at the Calling and the Battle Hardened because uh, taking it to these events and kind of like getting out of your comfort zone a little bit is like I feel like I've kind of hit that threshold. I've put myself to the test where I'm keeping track of both of my own and my opponent's pitch stack, my damage density in my deck, and also not like fumbling on lines while I'm playing the deck. I would say that like this is probably the most complicated deck LSS has ever made, and getting to the point where I feel I'm proficient enough to win every matchup I should, and then some of the ones I shouldn't. I was not there going into Kansas City, but after Kansas City, I feel like I'm kind of getting there. I got a lot of reps into decks like Ira and Syndra, decks that are like hard on paper for you to deal with, but I feel like there's actually a lot of game there if you play really well. Um, I also did not day 2 in the Calling, as I mentioned earlier, went to the Battle Hardened, and I also didn't top the Battle Hardened. But getting these difficult reps and playing against people with different concepts of how the matchup should be played and how they want to play into the matchup helped me kind of like broaden what I'm expecting from various people going into any given matchup, and I feel like that was really valuable. I want to say um, when I was getting my deck ready for Kansas City, one of the things I was thinking is that Ira and Slippy are some of the more common matchups I will see that are kind of difficult for Gravy. And I thought, you know what might actually be really difficult for Ira and Slippy to deal with? Allies that don't have 3 or less health. Let's just jam a couple cutties on the sideboard and see how it works. I did a little bit of testing like that. I took it to the Super Armory on Friday in Kansas City. And shout out to our buddy Jude. I played him in the very first round of the Super Army, and I was playing the cutties in the mirror. They're all right because a lot of the like head jab attacks don't kill them. You have to like swing an ally into it. And we were talking about the game afterwards. He's playing triple scuba, and I'm like, why the hell am I not playing triple scuba? They're just better than Cuddy. I was like, absolute light bulb moment. It's just a better card. It helps you get this consistency in the deck with your gold generation that I thought was just like absolute light bulb moment. I couldn't even believe. Like, what am I doing myself?
That was the mirror tech for the weekend, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, in the mirror, scuba is crazy. It is almost always a 2-for-1. You just swing it into your opponent's ally, bottom another ally that they have in the grave, and you just brick your opponent so hard if you have the triple scuba and they don't. Oh my goodness. It almost always gives you like 6 health too, because you're swinging like rigor mortis into it because they don't have attacks that come in for more than 3. So, oh man, I can go on and on about this, so I'll stop there for now. Aaron, how was your weekend?
Yeah, so mine went pretty well. I brought Ira, which is actually one of my favorite heroes in the game. I really like her fundamentalist playstyle. I like the mid-rangey aspect of Flesh and Blood where you have thoughtful decisions to make on both offense and defense. And while a lot of her gameplay loops can be a little bit, reductive and you boil it down to kind of the same actions over and over again, I think that being able to optimize the micro decisions turn by turn and incorporate them into your macro strategy against different types of heroes is very rewarding from a skill perspective. And I really like the way that Ira does that. I felt pretty good with the deck. I've been practicing a lot. I used to play Mario a lot after Enigma LL'd, but sadly, I think the Gravy Bones matchup just has been kind of rough for that deck, especially with Fearless Confrontation coming out. It's very difficult to deal with the allies. You're kind of forced into a position where you have to just ignore them and go face, but Chum and Sawbones just kind of make that impossible to do. So I've been playing Ira because I think that her matchup spread is very solid. She's a deck that has a decent matchup into Slippy and also a pretty good Gravy Bones matchup, which I think is very difficult for a lot of decks to do. You kind of either are good into one or the other there. And then she's pretty solid as just a mid-range ninja into most other decks. I think Wizard is kind of like your problematic matchup, and Victor's a little tough now with Clash of Iron Will, but it wasn't enough for me to like sway off of the deck. I thought that obviously Gravy Bones and Slippy would have been excellent picks as well. However, I think that with everyone teching heavily for those decks, especially with Slippy, so many people had lots of snags and defense reactions in their sideboard. And I'm someone who usually likes to try and bring a deck that answers a question that maybe other people aren't thinking about it. And there just wasn't anything that I was building in Slippy that I thought was different than what other people were doing. So I ended up picking Ira just because of my comfort for it. I had a build that was a little bit different than what other people were doing. Although on the first day, my tournament ended up being a little bit weird. I ended up X and 2 at the end of the first day, which is not really where you want to be in a calling. It does, save you from getting told that the battle hardened was full and that you can't play in it. So, at least you get to guarantee that you can play some flesh and blood in the following day.
So many people, bro. So many people.
Yeah, but for your top 8 journey, it means you kind of have to go undefeated. But I ended up going 4-1 in the second day, dropping 1 game, so ended X3. So I did top 32, which was kind of nice. I believe I was the best performing Ira out of 31 players, which is pretty nice. I think the other ones were naive.
Can't confirm. Cool data told me that. Can't confirm.
Yeah. The most interesting to me about my tournament, I think, was I had a pretty wide matchup spread. Like I said, I played against a bunch of decks that you kind of wouldn't expect in the meta. I played a KO. I played some Marios. I played a Valda in the second day. But the 2 losses that I had in day 1 were both to Gravy Bones, which isn't really what you want to see when you bring a deck like Ira, because, part of the appeal of bringing that deck is that you have a good Gravy Bones matchup. And I think I learned a lot in those losses. They were both very different games. One of them was very, very close, where I believe that I probably had room to make a few decisions that were a little more optimal that could have got me out of it, but some variance in the mid game definitely set me behind. And the game ended up being very close, and it was a very close loss. And then I immediately lost to another Gravy Bones where it was not close at all. They just had the perfect hands every single turn. Blue into Tipple, discard an ally, play the ally, swing with it. You have 1,000,000 gold, infinite, resources, and they just kind of run you over. And it really kind of surprised me because I had felt very comfortable into Gravy Bones prior to this tournament, and I still do. I don't think that the matchup all of a sudden is bad just because I lost a couple of games, but it definitely made me have to think about how much I have been maybe disrespecting that matchup, kind of resting on my laurels with how I think the matchup should go. And my list definitely, I think, was on the slightly more disrespectful side in terms of Gravy Bones. I definitely hedged more of my tech and focus on the Slippy matchup, for instance, thinking that the natural state of the deck would be good into Gravy Bones. But I think that with some of the way that the game's played out and how efficient Gravy Bones decks are now, that I would probably need to rethink that for another tournament if I bring Ira. And for people who want to bring Ira, that if Gravy Bones in its current state is very powerful and very consistent, and I think you need to respect it a little bit more rather than just saying Ira is my hero, I automatically win.
100%. From the other side of that matchup, you would think going into it, these Kodachis are awesome. They clear allies, and then they can also hit face. It's I'm drawing off a mask half the turns, or however you want to look at it. You're just popping Iris every time you can to draw 2 cards. And then Gravy comes at you with, all right, I'm going to draw a card off of balance since you hit an ally with Miss Blossom, and I'm going to send 40 damage this turn and just blow your face off. It's just the potential for that deck to just pop off out of nowhere is kind of crazy. And if you're not throwing some sort of disruption effect into them, the chance that they can just come back is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was my main problem. Is when the tipples and the swells and the sloop all line up, it's just so much damage that you can't outvalue that even with Whirling Mist Blossom stuff. Unless you are forcing them to block with disruption, which was the thing that my deck was disrespecting, where I didn't have as many actual disruptive attacks that were relevant. I wasn't playing Humble. I only had 1 copy of Blanche in the deck, things like that. So while my deck was really good in clearing allies and presenting, high value turns and being able to trade with the Gravy Bones, I wasn't actually presenting enough threat to kind of get them off their game. And when you do that, you kind of hope that the Gravy bricks a little bit. And like what happened in a game where
Mhm.
he doesn't brick and he has like perfect turns every single cycle, you just get run over, which is definitely something I have to address in future builds.
I mean, we're talking about how crazy gravy is, and when it's like running hot, it's so hot that it is in a tier all on its own. Which I think is part of the problem that people have with building gravy. They try to get a little bit too cute sometimes and putting in these like special cards that make the deck function at a lower level. But that might all go out the window immediately in what is it, 8 days now? Um, we have a BNR scheduled. If you guys could pick, let's say, we won't even limit to one card. Like, what would you ban out of gravy to make him not just like terrible, still functional, like a a B tier deck maybe?
Okay.
What would you hit?
Okay. Well, so I've been really thinking about the BNRs for Gravy and other decks, which kind of like coalescing with each other. And like
Mm-hmm.
so like there's like so many ways that you want to kneecap the deck in theory. It's like I actually want to ban like Chum and like Sloop. Like that's what I'm like. I'm just getting more and more like the more like over time it's getting worse and worse about the cards I want to ban because it's like oh I want to ban Swell and then I'll look at like Evan's calling winning list. There's no reds in here. Oh my god, I don't. You can't just ban 3 cards from the deck and expect it to be okay. So it's like, and he's not playing Sloop either, but that's for a different reason. Like I actually think we need to target like one really strong ally. So Chum or Morty. I prefer Chum because that card is so obnoxious. I just every time that card's played, I just want to punch a baby. Every time, dude. I just oh my god, I hate that card.
Clip that, chat.
That's fine. That's fine.
I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of people hate Chum quite a lot.
Yeah. So like I want to hit Chum and I want to hit something that kneecaps the aggro matchups, such as like Sloop. So make Syndra an actual positive win rate matchup into Gravy Bones, something like that. I know a lot of people want Swell done, like all Rainbow Swell, but I don't think that's actually enough. I think if you do that, I think Super Slam is just gonna be Gravy Hell, and it's just gonna be all over again. And it's like I see a lot of people online talk about, oh well, the actual calling win rate was only 49.6%. I think the deck is absolutely fine. And it's like, at the same time, it's like, well, yeah, but if you look at the top 32 list, it's like 9 are Gravy Bones, and they're all the really good players in the field. So it's like, I don't know. It's just a really difficult deck to pilot. I was like, there's a big difference there.
Exactly. When people talk about how like its win rate over the course of a calling wasn't that great, it like I cannot stress enough how this is like I think bar none the most difficult deck they've ever printed, and the skill ceiling on this deck is insane. There is such a huge difference between someone piloting this deck at the highest level and someone who's just picked it up and is playing it. Like even like this is like their 4th week. They've got like a handle on it a little bit. It's just absolute night and day. All right, Zach, how do you want to absolutely obliterate this deck?
I think there are 2 reasonable ways to approach this, and I'm gonna get flamed in the comments because I posted a video about this last week and I got absolutely torched. I think my video has 170 comments on it because so much of the population disagrees with me. For frame of reference, most of my videos get like 6 comments. So like let's just keep it in there where we're at here, okay? So like you either need to hit 2 colors of golden tipple. So you either need to hit like blue and red and leave them with just yellow, or leave them with just red. Or you have to make Chum legendary and you have to hit 1 color of tipple and it has to be blue. I think those are your only 2 reasonable options.
That's very specific.
Yeah, it is.
I've thought reasonable options.
I've thought a lot about it. I'm with Taylor. If you do anything else, you're either murdering the deck, and I mean, I'm talking like when they printed Light of the Leaves and they just shot Victor dead in the street.
We're gonna fucking fire it in the background over here.
We're going to fire the hero, or you're going to do so little that we have the same meta. Taylor called it perfectly, and I think the 2 things I suggested are the only things that get us close to a middle ground.
Why do you want Chum to be a legendary and not just ban it?
Well, because
'Cause I
he's the
think-
first mate. Why are there 3 first mates, Aaron? That
I
doesn't
never
make
thought
any
about
sense.
that, but that's a good answer, Alex. I'll take it. I honestly, if you want the truth, like I think that powerful ally effects are okay in some degree, and I think that having one chum is fine. It is obnoxious, and like getting rid of it is like one answer. But I think that if you get rid of like all of the Arclight Sentinels and you get rid of blue Golden Tipple, I think it's too much. I think you need to leave them with one as like a toolboxy card to help out in specific scenarios.
You think that restricting Golden Tipple to 3 copies will not kneecap the deck to like be terrible?
If you take 6 colors of Golden Tipple and you only leave them with like red or something like that,
Please.
we're gonna have a Zen situation, is what I think's gonna happen. Does everybody remember when they talked about banning like Art of War and Bonds? Everybody lost their minds and everybody was like, oh, Zen's fucking unplayable. And then it turns around and it starts winning events left and right because people fucking adapted. If you think that banning 6 colors of Tipples out of the deck is, I think you're seriously underestimating how powerful the deck is.
Just say it. Just say it. People.
Maybe I am.
I'm here to
Maybe I
start
am,
fights
then.
tonight. Clearly, I came to start fights. Now it was first it was Blitz, now it was this.
I think that if you hit any color of Tipple, the deck functions at such a lower capacity, it becomes extremely clunky. You
Good.
get like even worse high roll feels. I think that because every color of Tipple you take away is essentially like 2 discards of allies.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get the gold with the Tipple and you get the actual discard off the Tipple effect. So
Okay.
I think that taking away 6 colors, effectively removing like 12 ways to get allies into the grave, means that you are either now playing allies from hand, or you are like, oh god, I don't even think it's possible to run like just 6 allies and it'd be a good deck.
Every other deck from High Seas has to play Loan Shark or some other way to generate cold. Make Gravy Bones play Crowded Dominion. Make him play Loan Shark. Make him play these quote-unquote like bad cards to generate gold to use his hero ability. People will adapt. The deck will change. I'm telling you now. Like, somebody clip it. We'll put $50 on it if you want. We'll put $50 on it. If they get rid of 6 colors of Tipples in 3 months, like we're still talking about how the deck is playable.
Okay. Sam, I have a question for you, okay? In internal testing, from your, guesstimation here, how many Tipples were in Gravy when they were like, ship it?
Oh, dude.
Dude, this is a good question, actually. I want you to seriously think
man.
about this. And, when they were like, oh, this is
So
roughly what the final version of Gravy will look like once the players get their hands on it, how many Tipples are in that deck?
I actually thought about this before. I'm pretty sure. This sounds terrible. Oh god.
They forgot about Tipple.
No. I think they were running 9 Tipples. I just think that the level of skill you need on Gravy and the amount of time you need to dedicate to see the ceiling of this deck, they just don't have the time for in development.
Just say it.
Like,
just say that
They're bad.
I don't want to even just say that they're bad. I don't even want to just say that. I think that there is honestly no way that they could have played the deck enough to get to the level you want to be at to actually pilot this deck to the highest level.
I have 2 counterpoints to this, okay? 2.
Okay, all right.
First one is the CYB games were taking too long with Gravy. Okay? But the second one is I think Aurora was actually keeping Gravy in check in internal testing. And then Aurora LL lightning quick, and then they were like, oh shit. And then Gravy came out here and just ran everybody over. And I think Aurora in internal testing.
I think that would make a ton of sense because Arc Lightning, I was like,
it's any target. Any target.
Yeah. Arc Lightning would eat fucking Gravy alive.
Yeah, it would be a non-game.
Destroy him.
Yeah.
I've never thought about Aurora keeping it in check in testing, but that makes so much sense. Doesn't this a throwback to when everybody was testing Starvo with like non-errated
Briar.
Briar, and they were testing
Exactly.
it with like Seeds of Agony in the format, and they thought it was fine.
Yeah. So like that's
Yeah.
in my head canon. Maybe one day we can get Brian or James on here to confirm. But like in my head
Oh, there's
canon,
no way.
like, hey, can you tell us the secrets? No, but like I have to assume that when Aurora LL and they see Gravy in the pipeline, they're like, oh shit. They're like that's like my like initial impression is like, oh shit.
I think that's reasonable. I think also another part of it is if they were like planning for Aurora to like maybe be LLing at the end of the high seas meta, like in the PQ season that's coming up. There are a lot of cards coming out in Super Slam that are powerful, like a very, very powerful cards. Like I'm looking at the Kasai spec. I've heard other people talk about their spoilers being on the same level as the Kasai spec. The new Verdance card is crazy. So I want to say that I think that the power level of decks are going to increase a fair amount with all of these expansion slot cards that are coming out. And in internal testing, if Aurora was keeping it down, I think it makes a lot of sense that they were like, all right, she's going to LL around this time. We're going to bridge that gap with some of these expansion slot cards that kind of like beat Gravy down. Because this is another, I think, kind of hot take. People think that Kasai is like really good in the Gravy Bones, and I think she sucks. I think it's like an auto win. Like almost every time I play that matchup, I feel like I'm just torching the Kasais. And I don't even think I'm like the greatest Gravy pilot. And I think that card switches it dramatically. Like, you don't have to spend nearly as much damage or resources into clearing allies with the new Kasai spec. It's just a guaranteed slam it. It's going to kill the ally on the Centauri swing. It's going to give it go again. It's going to make my dude. It's going to go crazy.
So when you said that they're going to level up all the heroes with these expansion slot cards in like the format, I started smiling in the background because I was just like, man, thank God Olympia got an upgrade. Like Gravy Bones is done. Olympia to the moon, baby.
You got 4 upgrades.
Exactly.
No, Olympia was not what I was talking about when I was saying that.
Thank God. If you were, I was like, Taylor, just cut it off. The podcast is done. We had a good run.
No, but I truly think that like the new Verdance card and the new Kasai card, just for the ones that are out there and we know about, are very powerful cards.
Mm-hmm.
And is like the Verdance one is just a straight upgrade. It's a minimum going in the deck over Burn Bearer, if not alongside it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see Verdance having as much trouble with that much reach, and into other decks also. I think it's going to be even more powerful. It's going to raise the consistency of the deck too, because you can decompose that card. Like, it's everything you could want. I think it also kind of leads me a little bit into, we can take this a little bit down the line, but I think they might actually be hitting Verdance with a ban coming up too. I think Taylor called it the other day. I definitely won't take credit for this, but I think a ban on Plume is on the table if they're putting this card.
Plume is
Yeah, I
so
agree. It's kind of
obnoxious.
obnoxious that you can just recur 9 arcane from your graveyard at any point. It just means if you go under 10 versus Verdance, you're just dead to Stormstriders. Like, they just draw 3 blues and I can get my Burn Bear back from my graveyard at any point now and shoot you for 6+3. And hopefully you can deal with that. And most decks can't. It's really tough because Striders kind of invalidates a lot of decks from playing those like late game scrappy scenarios. And Verdance is already a pretty high value deck anyways. So the only way to like effectively beat Verdance, unless you just have like enough protection against Arcane to where you don't have to worry about that in specific, but those decks then lose to the potions. But you have to be like 15 life up on Verdance. But you're playing against a deck that's just running a ton of D-Reacts. They have Felling of the Crown, Plow Under. Like, their value is so crazy that to keep enough pressure to actually maintain that life lead and actually kill her before she finds a way to kill you, it's very, very difficult. And without, blocking, you need to not block to do that. But if you don't block, then these Fellings and the Tillings and E-Strikes or whatever else they're throwing at you, they're going to get you to that low range. And as soon as you're low, then you're dead to Stormstriders. And I think the Plume for the new card is just like it exasperates that. I don't.
100%.
Yeah, I don't like that play pattern at all, to be honest.
Dude, I think it's so funny too because like me and Aaron are sitting in the airplane and we're like an hour into the flight and I just like unplug my little earbud. I'm like, "Hey, have you thought about plume in that?" He goes, "Yeah, I've been thinking about it right now." I was like, "Okay, we'll put it back in." We just sit back.
Yo,
Oh,
Taylor, now that you're talking about the flight, man, did you notice the like 35 minutes worth of turbulence on the way back from Kansas City that we had?
you're my 13th reason.
I don't even know what's happening, but
Taylor was talking about turbulence on our flight from Charlotte to Kansas City, and he was like, "Dog, there was like 15 minutes of turbulence," and Aaron was like, "It was literally like 60 seconds, bro." Like he was like, they turned the fasten seatbelt sign off before they could sit down.
Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't like flying. Like, if I get up in the middle of flight, the chair's coming with me. I don't like it. Okay, it's not something I enjoy. Look, I'm sorry, man.
With me. I'm sorry. I have derailed this episode so much. I'm just choosing
fine.
violence tonight. I'm sorry, guys.
I have
No,
fun.
we're good.
I just
We're
treat it like
choosing
it's like a
violence.
massage chair. You know, you're on a roller coaster. You know,
I'm here for
Dude,
it.
it's like
just
I'm
lean
thinking
back,
about
just
dying, and I
relax.
look over at Aaron, and he's just.
I'm just
I'm like,
chilling,
dude,
man.
He's
My
like,
eyes
the
are
God's
closed,
with
I'm
us,
just like,
brother.
just
Like,
chill.
as we're flying into a mountain, like Aaron has not a care in the world.
I'm like
Yeah, I don't-
shitting and crying beside him. I'm like, dude, it's like right beside him. I like. It's starting to get a little turbulent. I like try to go for his hand. I'm like, hey man, I really need this right now, dog.
I go for his hand. Here's a real question about the ban list. Do you think Slippy should have something hit?
Just ban
Yes.
mantle.
oh man,
Yeah, just mantle.
I would love them to ban Mantle.
I just hate the
Just
card.
having every card kind of being bonds is like not something you can like actively play around unless you're sitting on and like sandbagging D-reacts. And I think that if your deck just can't run the D-reacts anyway, it's just like you're damned either way. And that's like any aggro deck, you're just kind of screwed if they mark you. They can just turn anything into bonds, and that's terrible.
I don't think from a power level perspective, Slippy is really that like egregious. You know, I think that he has several matchups he has to deal with. People are teching for him very heavily with like the D-reacts and the snag and stuff.
Yep.
He has to fight for a lot of his matchups. So I don't think he's like busted or anything in the same way kind of Gravy Bones is. But if they're gonna like try and do some cleanup bans to like make the game feel a little bit better, you know, potentially like we talked about with Plume and Verdance, or if they want to hit anything else. I don't think any other heroes really need anything right now. Gravy Bones is kind of the big one on people's minds. But Slippy, I do think that the mantle interaction is just a little... With Flick Knives and Claves and the fact that Slippy doesn't care about his daggers, so it's kind of a free resource to use on demand, unless you just draw 2 D-reacts every single turn, there's no way to play around it. You know,
Yeah,
the go
exactly.
again plus the potential for the reactions, like you can't overblock Slippy, and at any point, any attack could just randomly become Bonds of Agony is actually kind of obnoxious to deal with. Obviously, Mantle's a very strong card, just like on rate. You know, for a yellow 3 block, like being a 0 for like basically a red Razor's Edge at yellow, like while they're marked at minimum, is kind of crazy, and then turning any random innocuous attack into bonds or a kiss of death, you know, for tarantula toxin or whatever is kind of it's not very fun, I will say, you know, unless you just happen to have the shelter in your hand. But
I agree.
I mean, I would go even further because I think that it's not even just a Razor's Edge of yellow. I think you can turn any blue into a red now. It's just like it's just a Nick at yellow. It feels like most of the time.
So, as we talked about, like the power levels of the new specs are going up, right? So we can kind of foresee that the power level of the CC format is going to go, you know, start to rise. Would it, instead of banning cards, how would you all feel about unbanning certain cards? Maybe like Belittle and Plunder Run instead of banning cards out of Gravy.
Here's the problem. If you unban those cards, they just go into Gravy. Gravy is an aggro deck at heart. Like, imagine if you give Belittle to Gravy as if he didn't already, you know, have enough Belittle.
Oh my god, a blue that he could just play?
yeah, I mean, like Belittle goes really well into Gravy, so I mean, I wouldn't do that. But Belittle's also like very, very strong.
I was trying to be creative. Fuck you guys. I was trying to like there's like the obvious answer. I was like, oh, let's have some. No, never mind.
So
I think like
that's why we can't have anything nice.
I actually really like that like solution. Like on a serious note, Taylor, is that like if the idea of us unbanning something that like brings the power level up to the bar, I think is also a fine solution. Most people's answer is just to reach into the ban bag, but I think that one of the biggest issues that with unbanning stuff is you have to be really careful, because even like Blue Plunder Run fits into Gravy pretty efficiently, I feel like. So there's a lot of like, yeah, exactly. There's so many
Right?
powerful
It's
cards
crazy.
that you can play inside of Gravy Bones, because Gravy Bones is the best of both worlds of playing a board state deck while, throwing, like 9 to 12 physical damage at you on like a good pop off turn. So I think you have to be careful, but I don't hate that idea. Sadly, the answer is that we probably just have to go back to Art of War, and they're not going to do that because we just got rid of it.
I mean, I always think unbans are kind of exciting, but you got to be careful with it. They're obviously willing to do it like they did with Bonds of Agony. So, I'm sure that they're always looking at the ban list and how it's curated to see like when things might be acceptable to bring back in. But usually with unbans, I feel like, most TCGs would rather err on the side of caution, unless there's a strong and compelling reason to bring it back. Why would you? Like, even if you think that the card wouldn't really do anything, unless you have a good reason that you think it would benefit the health of the format, sometimes it's not worth the risk, unless you're willing to very, very quickly revert the change if things go wrong. They did it in Blitz when they unbanned Drone Brutality and Stormstriders, where they're like, we'll give these cards a shot again, and quickly found out that it was not the right decision, and that, they ended up rebanning them.
God, that was the most miserable fucking skirmish I've ever played.
So, serious take, and it's going to sound crazy, so stick with me for just a second. How do you guys feel about unbanning Plunder Run to give aggro decks something to do, and then unbanning Crown of Seeds so that you bump up all of like the off-brand Earth heroes who aren't doing all?
No.
Those cards aren't on the same power level.
All right,
like
so
Plunder Run's not even that
Plunder
good.
Run. We're not giving Verdant's Plunder Run.
Crown of Seeds. Yeah. Imagine giving Verdant's Crown of Seeds. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought of.
Holy shit.
Yeah, why would you want to do that? You already suck into Verdants, okay?
Let's make it interesting.
All right.
I'm saying, like, we're reaching into the bag to see what could mix up the format. Why not?
I mean, that would mix up the format, yeah.
Here's the one legendary that's ever been, like, here's one of the 2 legendaries that's ever been banned in LL. Let's bring it back in CC. It should be fine.
I think it's great.
Are you
crazy? It is really good. It is really good.
Do you have like 17 you're trying to sell? Like, what are you trying to do here, son?
Shut up, Taylor. I told you that in confidence, bro. Jesus.
How about Dustblade? Like,
I actually think that's reasonable. On God.
Who's going to use it?
Vincent can't use it for shit, and Warlord's Diplomacy exists. Card's fine.
Oh, man.
Card's
But again,
fine.
like it wouldn't accomplish anything, so why?
It wouldn't do
bother with it,
anything,
right? So
yeah, exactly.
For the memes, Aaron. For the
Just
memes,
like-
so
just
that MinMax can sell their 400 copies of foil versions they have.
sure, okay.
So I've been thinking about it a lot about like what you could actually ban from Gravy and not like just kneecap the deck. Instead of doing tipples, I think you should actually ban Chart the High Seas and Back Alley Breakline, and then probably Portside Exchange.
If you ban Portside Exchange, I will find James White at Worlds. I will plan, dude. That I would fume.
Marlon catching strays.
Here's my thought though. I think if you ban Portside Exchange, the next best blue is probably Seafloor Salvage in that kind of slot, where it's just like play a blue, make a gold, but you don't discard an ally, so it's like an immediate downgrade. And I think Chart is one of the cards that is like the most egregious for the ceiling. So like I had a play while I think it was in the Battle Hardened, where I blocked with 4 cards, played a Chart, hit a blue and a Sawbones. It was like a 5 card like 25. It was crazy value, and I think that's not even the highest high roll you can hit with that card. Like it could have been like a back alley break line that I could use both action points for on an aggressive turn. So I think if you really want to kneecap the deck to a reasonable power level without like obliterating the feeling and the fluidity of the deck, you start there.
If
one
you
of the-
ban, oh god, Aaron,
One of the reasons why Gravy is so busted is just because almost every card in his deck just innately makes gold with no interaction. Like he takes a game action, he makes a gold, right? Portside, make a gold. Tipple, make a gold. chart the high seas, make a gold. Like
Hey,
everything
what if I
he does.
activated Hook for free now because I had all this free gold generation?
So now he gets to hook everything, and because Gravy is an ally deck, you don't want to block him very much because you need to keep your resources to present damage to face and to clear allies. So you're going to get hit by the hooks. So Gravy just has this giant fat stack of gold every single turn that he just can freely use to dig for more gas, or use to manipulate his hands so that he keeps finding these consistent big hands. So I do think that like cutting back on some of the natural gold gen is an option. I think chart is kind of a reasonable, because that card is really disgusting when he hits blue ally with it.
Yes, it's crazy.
I don't know, like if you ban all of that and then you leave all the tipples behind, I'm sure that would lower his power level a little bit. But I think the big thing with the potential Gravy ban is, are you trying to just keep the deck functioning the same but slightly weaker, or are you trying to remove the kind of feels bad play patterns behind it? Because for me, like, if you just make the deck slightly weaker, you're probably doing it by making it slightly less consistent by removing all of the gold generation in it. But you still have some of the problematic play patterns that just like feel bad from an opponent's perspective. That's why I actually like, what I would pick is, I don't like Chum. I think that ally is too good, and I think it invalidates a lot of strategies. It's kind of like the illusionist problem where certain decks just can't deal with it. I think that Chum is like the biggest culprit of my deck just doesn't work against Chum. I talked about earlier with Mario, where like Mario doesn't even have the option to ignore allies because Chum exists, and dealing with Chum in and of itself is very difficult because he has a lot of HP for how little effort it takes to actually put him in play. And I think that more decks would have more options to play against Gravy with like Chum not around.
I do think that the deck becomes a lot more susceptible to Ninja and Assassin when you don't have Chum as an option.
So,
He
like,
can
I'm
block.
gonna come from the business side, and it's like, it's scary to ban allies because of the the Marvel treatment. It's scared to ban.
Marvels, yeah.
It's scary. It's scary to ban chart because of the extended art that people spent money on. It's scary to ban even like was it Breakline
Well,
Alley, because it's
here's the
scary.
problem. There isn't a single card in the deck that you can't like max rarity for like $50+ a card. It's the whole deck.
The whole
The
deck's
whole
in the
thing
treasure
is
packs.
treasure pack. Yeah, the whole deck is treasure pack cards, marvels, and fables. It's insane.
So they're going to have to like do something that's a little bit different than like an. Oh well, no. There's one that they can do. They can ban Eye of Ophidia,
I'm in. Please.
but that
What if
doesn't
they-
do the
I
rest
still
of the
haven't
deck.
bought one. I was borrowing one for Kansas City.
I just
Don't
hate
make
that
me
card.
buy it.
What if they just like ban dead threads? Say, sorry guys, you don't get a free resource every turn. You guys actually have to like work for your
Well,
your curve.
Death Threats is great, but like as time has like evolved, I'm actually getting more. I'm like starting to think that Hook might be like one of the best class legendaries to ever be printed. Like, I mean, I think it's in the top 10 right now, in my opinion.
It's bananas.
I think it's like up there with Chronoseeds.
Yeah, like it's
no
Crown
joke.
Seeds Traverse level of like, this card is fucked. Because of the literal line of, if you've made a gold this turn, don't worry about it, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that goes into like every game action Gravy takes just naturally makes gold with no counterplay. So if you remove the gold creators, you cut back on them, or if you would have just printed them in a different format to where you could actually deny the gold value, then you wouldn't be able to abuse Hook as often. You might have to be put in more scenarios where you're actually gambling the Hook on whether or not your opponent wants to block. Or you give them the option to say, hey, I don't mind stuffing the value on my turn if it means I get to like block your Hook out. Because the other pirates aren't really abusing Hook to the same extent, just because they can't make enough gold to consistently use it. I mean, Marlin can throw like a giant overpower.
Whoa.
Call on me.
Okay,
Colin,
Zach,
I watched Taylor play Marlin twice and abuse the living shit out of Hook. Now, Pirate Puffin, in my opinion, is just not a real deck, so I don't really think we can even like talk about it. But like, I did watch Taylor actively use like Tipple and like other cards and like Loan Shark and then like literally just abuse it. And then even a couple of times when it didn't matter because he was like, here's 15 overpower. Good luck and
Block
have
this.
fun, pal."
Block this.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I actually like I think that Marlin, even though like she's kind of like what we were calling a goober deck earlier from the stream, like fits into that category of what Taylor's talking about and why gold baited hook is so bananas broken.
Dude, it's so insane. It's just like there's turns where I'll like just play port side, banish a harpoon, like the yellow harpoon that she makes, the goldfin, and then I'm just like, oh, that port side actually made 2 gold because of hook.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
why does it do that? But like, why? It's like what it should say is like, if you haven't made a gold this turn, make a gold on hit. Like it sounds crazy, but it's like, it makes much more sense. It's like, why is it doubling my gold? It's like we were so scared of gold cards, and then they've printed a whole set where like, oh, you can have 17 gold, which is gonna fix. I'm gonna draw my literal deck and pitch stack it. Why is
Yeah.
that a thing?
I
The
watched
gold's a
Sam
very
do
powerful
it
token.
at Nationals. I watched Sam do it at Nationals against the
Yeah.
Victor.
It's real fun.
It's crazy.
But why? Like that's my question. It's like, at what point in development from LSS was like, we don't want card draw, but Gravy and pirate decks, they can draw 17 cards instead of 2 from Art of War.
It's because
It's
they're
like,
not
why-
books, you know.
You're
There's
right.
no gold. There's no golden books.
It's just like, it's so mind-boggling to me. They're like, okay, here's the book ban. Anyway, here's Hook. Good luck. And you're just like, okay, I don't.
I have to say, I agree.
What if they just ban Hook?
I will literally.
Taylor doesn't want anything banned out of Marlin.
Dude, like, I will.
He's
Oh,
so
yeah.
biased.
I think Taylor's
Dude.
just looking for a reason to show up to Philly and then yell at James White for like
You have,
nothing.
you have no idea. It's like, if they ban any card.
So
I played Lexi, and they're just like banning cards out of Lexi all the time. It's like because of Briar. I was like, oh my god.
You know, they probably wouldn't have banned anything if he'd have won that calling.
How do I just mute him? Can I mute him for the rest of the podcast?
Pretty sure you can do anything you want. You host the thing we record on.
What's this button do? Remove participant. This
Oh,
is
bro,
insane.
that would be so wild.
That'd be way too much editing. I'm not doing that.
I can't wait to watch the last 30 minutes of the episode that doesn't have
You're just
me
not
in
there.
it.
I'm just deleting the whole entire audio record.
incredible. So, like, then what's the solution? Should we? I feel like LSS shies away from here specific bans. It's just not something they're
It's
really
time.
willing to do. I think if there's ever an example to do it, I think Gravy is it. Because there are, like, if you ban Red Tipple, it hurts Marlin. If you ban Portside, it hurts Marlin. If you ban Hook, it
Trust
hurts
me, buddy,
Marlin.
I know.
Like,
Well, here's the issue: is that the sets are getting more and more parasitic within their own design space.
yeah.
And so it's like, I can, like, if you look at old generic heroes that are like, you can put good cards into and they are good. It's like, and then as like sets have like, I think from like Uprising up, they became more and more parasitic of the cards that are in their talents and class, or in their set specifically. So like Gravy is super parasitic, where I believe if I look up your last Gravy list you sent me, it is probably. Let me see how many cards come from any other set. 0.
Oh, man. I mean, there's Back Alley.
There's
There's
Blanche
Snap
in Back Alley and
Also,
Snap.
Gravy's a brand new class, right? So
Yeah, but like at the same time though, it's like, look at my Marlin list.
yeah, but you're
It
a
is
ranger. And there's been lots
You
of
probably
rangers.
have, what, 12 cards? Well, no, you run the blues. The blue generic, well, I guess not generic, but the blue arrows from, like, Outsiders.
it's
Codex,
15.
3 of a kind.
It's
Yeah,
15
Three
cards.
Oak, Codex, the Blood Rot, Pump.
Yeah, but they're becoming more and more parasitic within their own self-contained
For sure.
ecosystem, which makes them
I
a
think
lot.
you see it. You see it a lot with the Hunted too, where Mario and Slippy are mostly just cards from the Hunted with like some Outsiders sprinkled in. slash like the most insane blue cards ever printed in Mistveil.
It's like becoming a Jenga tower then, because like you're like, oh, if I remove this part of the tower, the rest of it collapsed because the whole thing was built within itself.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it's
they
like
could-
I think like
it's so dangerous.
Well, sometimes heroes come out and they suck, right? So they kind of print the hero like as a package in whatever set that they come out in, and then they'll slowly add to them through expansion slots and other sets that have the same class. And you might have heroes that exist for a while, but they, were released in a not necessarily incomplete, but like not a powerful enough state, and they kind of like stagnate for a bit until they get whatever missing piece that they needed. And then in other cases, you have heroes that come out too strong as a package, and then adjustments need to be made. Like the Mistveil heroes, for instance. Kind of gravy bones in this case. I don't. It's not. I don't think it's like necessarily a problem like one way or the other, but I think in terms of this BNR, I think I might have a minority opinion, in here, but I'm just going to trust LSS on this one. I think that whatever they come up with is probably going to be better than whatever I think that I want for it, right? And,
Players.
Sure. I don't want to think too much, that's why I just go like Kodachi for 1, CNC for 7, pass turn, I'll let the gravy players think too much on like, oh, what's the perfect, needle I can pull out of the Jenga stack so that my deck still functions properly, but people get to pretend like you got a reasonable nerf or whatever. But I trust LSS. I'm gonna let them make that decision.
I think for the most part they've done a good job of doing that when they decide to pull the trigger.
Oh yeah, there we go. When they decided to pull the trigger, like here's my
I'm
issue.
gonna laugh
like,
when it's no changes.
I'll just go play Gundam or something. But it's like so like the book banning I think was like the peak of me trusting LSS, and then Aurora was like the bottom of me trusting LSS, and I was like, oh, this is kind of like the moment for me to decide from my perspective as a non-grinder.
So
it's like
I really feel like if they didn't misprint Serenade, Aurora would like she would have been more reasonable.
I watched Zach
For sure.
almost top 8 the Pro Tour without that card.
Didn't play either of the cards and literally lost my win in because I didn't have good Prism reps and didn't know how to.
It has nothing to do with the card. The card was like a blindfold over our eyes, going, "Oh, Aurora's broken because you got to play this cool 0 for 4."
Now,
well,
like,
I think it made it like a very reasonable difference because you were insulated by everyone else running it, and now Zen doesn't just beat your deck. Like, that was enough to move the needle that Zen became unfavored, and that was a big deal.
We just needed like a board banning instead of like a book banning, just a board banning. Like ban ALSS, ban the draw 2 Prism card, ban like 2 allies from the deck, make Shelly playable in Gravy. Like make it so you have to like
Shelly
playable.
Make
Titan's Fist playable. Yes.
Yeah,
that's not Titan's Fist. Have you read Shelly?
Yeah,
but like
Polly.
But like
that card costs 2 to play.
Like
punches
like,
for 4 when it's on board though.
But like make them reach into like the shitty allies to be playable again. Be like, oh, we got to go out to Shelly. Ban like Morty and Chom and like really power down the board state
ban
decks.
all of them.
Because it's like that's fine with me.
Just ban the allies.
I know that's
it's just pirate attacks.
And like I know that's a hot take. But it's like just I guess as I like board states, I just want to punch them.
I can't talk. I like board states, so.
Yeah. You've got 2 board state enjoyers and 2 board state haters in this podcast. So.
If I wanted to play a game with board states, I play fucking Magic.
If they did that though, they wouldn't have to ban Plume. Just ban the H pots.
Fine with that too.
Just see like ban H pots, ban E pots, fuck Kano. Oh my god.
Dude, if they ban healing pots, all of a sudden we're playing Victor again and trying to dodge Gravy because we're just running AB3 and fatiguing Verdants.
But like that's fine though, because that's like I want to watch like Verdants actually have to like pitch deck like a combo kill. Like to me that's way more entertaining than them going, I'll pitch a blue to Plume. Oh, there's the combo piece that I played earlier. Check this out. It's like that wasn't fun. How was that fun for anybody? Pitch stack again. I want to see some people start pitch stacking decks.
I like you should play Gravy then, brother.
The reason he's pitch stacking is because he's reaching his second stack on turn 4 because he's drawing 17 cards because of Hook and Tipple. That's a very different situation than like the Guardian pitch stack.
I'm saying, you want a pitch stack, brother? I got the deck for you.
That's not pitch stacking. That's just seeing the rest of my cards on turn 3. That's so different.
He's just he's just the best pitch stacker.
Yeah, because he's
exactly.
I'm gonna say the same thing whenever I play like was it Lyeth? I'm like I'm drawing 5 cards a turn, so I actually see my pitch stack before you. Good game. Like oh.
You didn't want to get the second cycle bad enough.
I don't know.
Oh man,
This is way too much fun.
Hope Merchant's Hood is even better in Lyeth. Get to see 5 new cards.
Merchant's Hood. I'm dead.
Makes Valda see 5 new cards. New surges.
all right. We've rambled quite a bit. We do have some questions from the community again this week. I tend to ask these guys in the TheCardGuyz Discord, and if you guys even shoot me messages with questions for the podcast, I'm always looking to put some good questions on. So just don't write me, is water wet? And we'll probably talk about your question on the podcast. So
Live example. Sam's using live example.
So a lot of people wanted to hear about Aaron's Ira deck and things about it, but one of the questions is, you tend to brew a bit, Aaron, in like your own kind of unique way. You kind of take decks and tool them specifically. How do you approach deck building? With like, I know you mentioned just even on this podcast earlier, you have like a question you're trying to ask that maybe someone else isn't asking. How do you like approach deck building? Is it like always with that front and center, or something else?
Yeah, so I mean, when I'm building a deck, I think like what I'm best at is optimizing sideboard plans and ratios for the things that I want the deck to be doing. I actually don't think I'm the best at brewing up a completely novel idea from scratch. So if you take like a large card pool for, let's say, a new hero comes out, right? And you just say, all right, here's Pleiades, here's her ability, and here's the 800 different cards that she can play. Build a deck, right? I don't find myself to be that confident in like coming up with the strategies and like the card interactions that are optimal. I think other people like Damien and even Taylor are kind of a bit better at that from me. So what I like to do as a starting point is I will take the core of a deck, or like the engine that makes it tick, and kind of tune and optimize it, and then incorporate other aspects of other like chunks of card pool, I guess, and put it in that deck, and then tweak the numbers a bit so that it is as efficient as possible into as many relevant matchups as I can get it to be. So usually, like, you know, taking Ira, for example, Enigma and Mario, right, were the last 3 decks that I've played. I will take kind of the core of the deck that we know works, right? For Mario, it was Broken Assassin Majestics and Dagger cards. For Ira, it's your blue base and your staple red attack actions. For Enigma, you know, it's your blue base, your Mirror Guy, that kind of thing. And there's usually 2 functions that I want the deck to do. You either need to you need to deal with decks that are faster than you, and you need to deal with decks that are better than you when the game goes longer. So to beat decks that are faster than you, we'll say Ira, for instance, I will take, you know, disruptive 2-cost attacks, and D-reacts is how you counteract those matchups. And then decks where you need to be more aggressive into because they outlast you, you would play like your extender cards, your go again reds. For Enigma, it was like the difference between playing your disruptive attacks and D-reacts as a package versus your board state snowballers like 10,000 Year Reunion or Waxing Spectre. And then you would build those packages based into like what heroes you were playing against. So I'll have the core of the deck that you play into everything, and then When I'm building Ira, I'll know that, okay, against like Syndra and Assassin, I need to be able to slow them down to drag the game out longer, to outvalue them over a long period of time. So the D-reacts, any relevant disruptive cards that I can put in the meta will help me there. And then decks like Wizard or Guardian, where I need to be aggressive because they're going to outvalue me over the long run. I'll play my more aggressive red go again cards because I know that in this matchup I'm not going to be blocking as much. And then after that, it's just tuning how much space I have in the list and how many slots that I need to fill out the deck so that I can present 60 reasonable cards. Because you might see I want to play all of these cards, right? Like this card is good, all these D-Rex are good. I want this disruption for this matchup. But as you start to build your sideboard, you'll notice that I have 62 cards that I want to play into this matchup, but I only have 59 in this other one. So you'll have to change the 80 card configuration of your list to make sure that your configurations into every matchup, you can present 60 reasonable cards, or else you're going to run into problems where I have these kind of dead cards in my deck versus matchups that could cost you the game, right? If you have to play like a defensive card into a matchup where you need to be the aggressor, that could slow you down enough, if you draw it at the wrong time, to totally lose you a game. Where maybe you have to like play a no block card into an aggro deck that loses you the game, right? So those types of optimizations are kind of how I like to build decks, and I like to make sure that my sideboarding plans are as clean, as efficient as I can be. But you can only start to do that once you've identified what that core of your deck is, so that you have a foundation to build upon, and then what are the effective tools that you can put in your sideboard to flesh out your deck to tackle whatever meta you want to go into.
We got another fun one for you. This comes from this complete stranger. Name is Taylor Crawford. What kind of hot dog toppings do you like?
All right, that's a very different question.
It's taken 8 episodes, and we've finally gotten some real substance on here. Now we're cooking.
So is it like your favorite individual topping, like if you can only pick one, or is it like build your favorite hot dog?
Build your favorite
Just
hot
build
dog.
your fucking favorite hot dog.
Bro.
This is your question.
I know, and I'm giving you straight from the horse's mouth. What's your, like, if you could have any imaginary hot dog, what would it look like?
All right, so my go-to usually is I like mustard and onion, and then some type of non-sweet relish type substance. So either a dill pickle based relish, or some type of like hot pepper chow chow, if you've ever had some type of like diced acidic,
So you're like a Chicago dog
like
kind of guy.
Sport peppers, yeah.
No, Chicago dogs are trash, but I do like pickles on hot dogs.
You said I was like a Chicago dog.
We just got canceled, bro. It's over.
No, it's trash. It's trash. There's too much stuff on it. They put like tomato chunks and like a giant spear of pickle on it, and then this like unnecessary celery salt, and then the hot dog has to be boiled. I think that there's like too many rules associated with it, and they're just putting too much stuff on top of it. So I think dill relish. I don't like sweet relish, but dill relish and like pickles are good on a hot dog. But an actual Chicago dog, I think, kind of sucks. So that's my answer, I guess. If I'm feeling more adventurous, I think that pimento cheese and jalapenos are actually good on a hot dog as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good combo.
What the fuck is wrong with y'all?
Pimento cheese is kind of spicy. I'm not gonna lie.
It's good. Man.
I kind of like the pimento cheese pool. I've asked a lot of people that question, Aaron, and I've never heard somebody say pimento cheese. So you get some style points for that one, dog. I'm here for that.
All right, another fun one from another complete stranger. Nathan Crawford asks, in your long run of playing Illusionist, how long did it take you to figure out that Runeblade is a superior class in every way?
Every way, huh? I will say, if I had the armor that Runeblade had, I'd never lose a game playing Illusionist. Right? But Runeblade's cool. I never end up like playing Runeblade. I think there was a brief stint where I played Viserai for a bit, but I don't know what it is about the class that just never really like clicked for me, or I always just end up gravitating towards something else. Like even when a Runeblade is in the meta, I'm always kind of gravitating towards either the illusionist or the guardian side of it. Um, Although I do think like Runeblade is actually really cool aesthetically. I actually like a lot of, especially with
Mhm.
the recent like generic Runeblade like expansion slot cards. I think they're knocking it out of the park with like the art and the aesthetic to it. Um, and I actually have a lot of fond memories with Illusionist or with Runeblade, specifically like playing against Runeblade. I think a lot of my favorite games of Flesh and Blood I've played have been like in the old Prism era, playing against Briar, Chain, Viscerai, like these matchups that were very difficult, but I thought they led into very, very fun and interesting games. And I kind of like the challenge that playing those unfavored matchups kind of gave you. And I think Illusionist had a lot of unique tools to kind of deal with the split damage. When you get like to that end game where both back in the old Prism 1 days, like when you versus Viscerai were both like 2 and 1 HP, and you kind of had to deal with the split damage that they were doing and using your spectral shields and your footsteps to kind of leverage, like perfectly blocking out while still being able to throw a threat. They had to deal with, random residual auras that you still had out threatening lethal and finding a way to like guarantee lethal against you. It was a lot of fun. So I have a lot of respect for Runeblade, even though I'm not a Runeblade player.
I don't agree. Runeblades, I definitely can resonate with the aesthetics of Runeblade being kind of sick. All right. You got another one from a complete stranger. They really enjoyed asking questions this week. We got one from our very own Josh Lau. What is your favorite fab-related and non-fab-related memory from a tier 3 or 4 event?
Okay. I think Fab related probably has to be the Mistvale Nationals in Minnesota or
Yeah.
Minneapolis. Um, Partly because that was the event that I top aided the Nationals, which was a very cool like marquee finish for me. It was the first time I've ever like top aided a major event. But just like kind of the feeling that you get like leading up to that, I thought that the tournament itself was kind of very surreal to me because it wasn't just like I made top 8, this is cool. As I got closer and closer, win after win, where I actually went 11-0 before I took my first loss in that tournament. So, and it was still 7 rounds in day 1. So I was actually locked for top 8 before I took a loss in the tournament. And it was kind of a really like weird feeling where I kind of didn't really like process how much it was happening. And I almost felt like while the tournament was still going on, I was just kind of like, relieved and like done with it, right? Where there were 3 rounds left and I knew that, I was already done playing, right? It didn't matter. And I just thought it was a really cool journey up until that point. I really liked being on the feature draft. I think I give a lot of credit to Vero for teaching me how to draft Zen in that tournament. I really enjoyed playing all the stream games that I got to do that weekend. The top 8 was really really fun. I thought the games were very memorable. It was probably the most like fun overall I've had at a tournament. Which of course is partially due to when you do well and you win. You can't really complain about that. But
Yeah.
I thought that the other circumstances around it made very special. And to tie it all up, I got to open my gold foil and ended up being the Meridian Pathway, which I thought was really really sick. Maybe not the best like monetary thing you could pull, but it was very special to me as someone who was playing
Exactly.
Meridian Pathway throughout the tournament. And then for non-fab related, probably so in Pro Tour 2 in Lille, I went with a friend of mine who was a local, and we spent about a week after the event in Paris, just doing touristy vacation stuff. Seeing all the sights, all the attraction, that kind of thing. Eating at a bunch of different restaurants that we could, and as we were kind of exploring Paris, we noticed that there were a lot of pizza restaurants in Paris and in France as a whole. So we knew that they loved pizza. And as we were doing a lot of the touristy stuff, I noticed that there was a lot of really cool, like kind of gothic architecture, like gargoyle on churches type of things. And I looked over at them and I just kind of made like the passing, comment, as we were looking at some kind of cool like Gothic church. I said that's metal as fuck. And I started saying that a lot, where it's like that's metal. And then we did the same thing with the pizza restaurants, where every time we saw a pizza restaurant, we said pizza, and we just pointed it out like pizza again. And then we developed this game, and we still do it now, and it's actually like really fun. But everything can be categorized as either pizza or metal, and it's kind of hard to explain. But if you actually like participate in the game, it makes sense intuitively. Like any object that you find or any experience that you have when you're out and about is either pizza or it's metal, right? You kind of get like the hardcore, like, yeah, that's metal as fuck, bro, or like pizza is very heartwarming and homey,
I love this. I love this game. I want to play this.
So anytime you go out, next time you're at a fab tournament with whatever, anytime you have a new experience or you see like an object or, something like that, just think, is this pizza or is this metal?
I will now be referring to the games that I play that way. So, Aaron, when we're catching up after rounds, just know that when I walk up and I'm like, it's metal as fuck, just know this conversation sparked that.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's probably my favorite, like, non-fab thing that has come out of, like, fab traveling, I guess.
That's awesome.
All right. That's honestly incredible answer. All right. We got one last one that I don't think is necessarily directed at Aaron, so we can kind of wrap us all out with one of these. What is your favorite thing about Flesh and Blood / what keeps you playing it versus other TCGs?
Well, I mean, I just think like the game system is kind of incredible, right? Everyone kind of always parades about like the lack of variance, in this game as being a positive thing. I tend to agree. I like that you are rewarded for consistency. You're rewarded for good decision makings, and I think that the format of the game being a sequence of micro decisions that compound over a larger macro strategy really kind of shine in this game, where other TCGs that I've played in the past, they have their benefits and their merits, and I'm not saying that every other game is bad, but there's always times when playing other TCGs where I just feel like I'm not really playing the game as it should be. And I don't like the fact that you kind of have to gamble on each game that you play. Like, am I actually playing like the game in its truest form, or is the variance in it just like pulling me out of the game, right? Whereas like Flesh and Blood, with a few exceptions, almost every game I play, I feel like I'm playing Flesh and Blood, right? I'm rewarded for my decisions, I'm punished for my decisions, and I leave every game having learned something new, or having reinforced, the things that I already believed about the game. So I think from a purely mechanical perspective, I really enjoy that about it. I also think that the aesthetics of the game, they've been really like knocking out of the park. I think their art department, is doing a fantastic job, and the artists that they're using for the game, the cards look incredible. They're looking better and better every set. Even just random cards that aren't the hallmark pieces of the game. There's just so much like attention to detail put into the flavor and the naming and the arts and stuff. I really like the way they're doing the treatments and the borders. The heroes are really, really cool. They're staying true to their IP. It's everything I would want in a TCG, to be honest, and it's kind of spoiled other games for me, to be honest. Like every time I go like play a different game, it's just like, man, I kind of just wish I was playing Flesh and Blood right now. I think that kind of hasn't 100%. Like waned for me at all.
Felt that.
Yeah, I've only tried a couple of TCGs, but I can definitely relate to feeling like, man, I really wish I was drawing 4 cards a turn instead of 1. Or, man, I wish that all of these small decisions I made actually mattered. So
yeah, a lot of things that make Flesh and Blood a hard game, make it a great game, because you're seeing more cards. There's more decisions to be making, which means you have more room, to outskill your opponent, and to express your own skill, and to, utilize the cards that you're seeing and the best possible decisions that you can be making.
Zach Taylor.
there are two real things that keep me in the game that like have made me fall in love with this game. The only game that I really ever played competitively before this was Magic. And if you guys have ever played Magic and you're listening to this, like you know that sometimes you just get screwed. Like sometimes you don't draw a third land, or sometimes you draw 7 lands, and there's nothing else you can do. It's just the game and the way it plays out. And that feels so bad. And this kind of speaks to Aaron points. There's so much less of that in Flesh and Blood. The game is so much more skill based. That majority of the time when I walk away from a game, I'm like, oh, I could have done this, or I could have done this, and it would have helped me a little bit, like edge out some points here and there. And so that's a big part of it. And then the second biggest piece is honestly the community. Like the Flesh and Blood community is the best TCG community like I've ever had the experience of being a part of. So between the game just being, in my opinion, superior to my other TCG experiences and how friendly and nice everybody else is in the community, it's it's a tier above everything else. No questions asked for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. Being in Kansas City for the first time after the podcast is like a major event, and the amount of people that come up and are like, "Oh, I love listening to the podcast," or we'd be playing a game and I'd laugh, and they're like, "Hold on a minute, I recognize that shit was awesome and surreal." And having that experience with the community is something that I don't know if it's possible elsewhere, and I really appreciate it.
Sure.
One of my favorite things is that like I said something. Hold on, I'm trying to get the guy's name. He's like round 6 or 7, and the guy goes, "I listened to your podcast." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." He goes, "I hate some of your takes." I was like,
That's amazing, dude.
Thanks for letting me
That's
know.
You gonna pull up his
absolutely
name to
amazing.
put him on blast?
I love that shit.
I'm not gonna see who they were, but they were like, and it's like one of those moments I'm like, I've made it. This
Did you
is
win the
it.
game?
I've made it.
Did you win the game?
I day 2, so yeah, I slapped them back into the. Yeah,
You got revenge. That's all that matters, right?
it wasn't really a revenge. I was like, at least you listened, so like I get some of that money. So I'll take it.
All right. Well, if you've made it this far, go ahead and drop us a like, subscribe, all the fun things, comments. We definitely read the comments and respond here and there. So if you want to actually get some more interaction with us, it's a good place to start doing it. You guys have a wonderful time with your ProQuest season coming up, or any skirmishes that might be left. And we'll catch you later.
See you guys.